I just want to start things off. Hugo Martin, thank you so much for joining me onto this interview. And for anyone who's actually watching this right now, I'd like to reintroduce Hugo Martin because he has a very legendary status in the Doom community, and everyone must know this. This is the game director of Doom Eternal.
Yes.
Thank you so much for actually joining me onto this interview. And Josh, thank you very much for actually allowing me the opportunity to interview Hugo Martin about Doom Eternal and a few other niche things I'd like to ask you about as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I know that you've been going around with a little bit of a media tour, which is really cool and awesome to see. You don't really see many game directors actually reaching out to the community and explaining a lot of things about Doom Eternal, whether it's the lore or some gameplay design decisions. So that is absolutely really cool. But a lot of people have been asking you about most of the common things, like it would be the lore, or hey, why did this happen here in the DLC, since that was the most recent thing.
Yeah.
But in this interview, actually, I want to take things a little bit in a different approach about some uncommon asked things. One thing I definitely see a lot in Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal in comparison is that you guys bring a lot of innovation into Doom Eternal, sort of building off of what Doom 2016 brought, and try and improve it and reintroduce it in a new twist. Destructible demons, however, it wasn't very common in Doom 2016. There were certain demons that actually had a bit of destructibility to it, such as the Cackle demons, where little pieces of chunk would fly off of them, and the Hell Knights, definitely some chunks of a fly off them, but not very something that you can actually catch your eye onto. It was wow, I really did some damage to them. But in Doom Eternal, you definitely crank that up to I want to say 100 in terms of really showing how much damage you inflicted onto a demon. But one thing about destructible demons that I think lots of people don't really notice as much, I think it's underrated, is sort of changing how the demon approaches you. So with that example is the Doom Hunter. The destructible aspect of it would be the sled. After he has a shield up and he's sort of shooting you with rockets, you take away that sled, he's more mobile and he's sort of strafing around, shooting at you with not as damaging projectiles. So I was wondering if that was going to be something that you would reintroduce perhaps in a future title where you bring back destructibility for the demons, but in a new twist where it sort of changes how they approach the player.
I, as a policy, can't talk about anything that we would do next. That's just kind of standard, PR stuff.
Oh yeah.
Do we like that stuff? Absolutely. I think there's a certain balance to good Idsoftware Doom combat that we try to achieve, which is just enough kill stuff, right? Just 80% is just murder things, shoot them with whatever. And then just enough skill shot opportunities for advanced players to shortcut an enemy's strengths, by doing certain things. And that's advanced options. And then just a little bit of really, really hardcore, enemy types, like a possessed here and there, just a sprinkling of little moments, just throughout the course of the campaign, a 20-hour campaign, that there's just variations to the experience. I think a criticism of 2016 that's valid is that it gets repetitive. By the third act, I would read again and again and again on the forums, players say that we just got bored, and boredom is rough. That means they're not engaged, they're not talking about your game, they're not replaying it. It's hard to come back to a game. There's not a lot of games that you come back to that bore you. If a game kind of you hit a wall, or you kind of struggle, there's a chance that you might come back to it if you hear a good buzz. How many games have you gone back to where people are man, I don't know, I really bounced off that game, I thought it was really hard, and or whatever, I just was frustrated.
Yeah.
And then you see that there's a community and there's people. From Software games have this quite a bit. And it kind of encourages you to go back and dig deeper into the systems, and then suddenly you realize when you figure something out, suddenly you're really engaged. Boredom, it's hard to come back from. It's no, I could do everything, I was just bored. It was just repetitive. And so I think it's with the Doom Hunter sled, it just provides people, that's a black belt AI. That is a super heavy AI of the highest tier. And when he comes in, he commands, he asks more of you than just shoot me with lots of guns. You know, like he's saying either disable my shield or disable my sled. And, you know, there's a window of opportunity here to burn me down. So I think a good amount of those in any game we make is good. And too many is not good. That is for sure. I don't want people to think that we're headed down some path where, like, the game becomes overly complex, that you can't just feel, you know, free. I think the DLCs are allowed to get away with more demanding combat chess because the audience for those games is on your base game for hours and hours and hours. So, like, I think they're looking for something else, and that's what the DLCs are there for. But for a base game experience, I think the right amount is good, too much is not good, and we're very proud of the Doom Hunter. I think he represents that type of AI really well in the game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I totally agree in terms of like the Doom Hunter having such very creative ways you could deal with him in multiple ways if you want. Because I know.
Well, it feels great too that like when you burn him down in 2 seconds, right? I mean, once you get really good at the game, you could wreck him like pretty fast.
Yeah, absolutely. Where you can just simply freeze him and then blood punch him, and you're able to just take off the sled.
Yep.
But
Totally.
and definitely something that kind of like goes back to the Ancient Gods Part 2, where you're sort of allowing a lot of people to actually have like a chess piece where it's just a lot of the demons a little bit more difficult in terms of the engagements. But I think one thing that's definitely underrated, I personally believe, about the Ancient Gods Part 2 was you introduced actually demons where they were reskins. However, most of the other Doom titles, they had reskins. They had like the Pinky as a Spectre that was invisible from 1993, and there are reskins in Doom Eternal, like the Cyber Mancubus and the Mancubus. However, they had like sort of different properties where you're sort of forced to engage them differently. For example, like the Stone Imps, where you could utilize the full auto mod and easily just take them out and get some shotgun shells, or you could use the rest of your ammo from your other weapons, but it'll take a little bit too much. But I think one good example of that would be the Armored Baron, where it sort of like forces you how to change your approach, where instead of just, you know, you kind of lean back, relax, and shoot at them at a distance, but you take off the armor, and you want to get in there quick and kill him before he regenerates the armor.
It's the best AI we've ever done.
Yeah.
That's, yeah, I think so, right? What do you think?
Yeah, I absolutely love it. I think that in terms of the approach of the enemies that you guys did bring into the Ancient Gods Part 2, it really changes how the player would engage older demons, but in a new light, where it either has to utilize certain weapon mods, or just simply changing how you would normally engage a demon.
Which, like, don't you feel like that's what a DLC should bring, right? Because what we know is that our core player base who's buying the DLC, obviously anybody who sticks around for a DLC and actually plays it, it's pretty hardcore, right? You're dealing with a committed audience.
Yeah.
There's a very high likelihood that they beat your base campaign. More than likely, they beat it multiple times. And so that audience, if it's more just Ballista Super Shotgun, like, who cares? You know? Especially with master levels, which are basically there to say, we know you love doing this combat, here, just feast on it, right? So yeah, that was the goal with those characters, was like, ask you to do something more. Some people say, like, you know, I read comments like, oh, well, you know, it's forcing me to use this mod. It's like, because, you know, why not? I mean, it's like explore more of your kit and think a little bit more. And honestly, because if we allow you to fall into too much of a repetitive pattern for too many pieces of content, like, it's fine in the base game if, like, you've mastered this strat, it works, great, you've earned that, that's awesome, we're proud. But come DLC, if we're still making combat that really can just be solved with that same strategy of PB Rocket or PB Ballista, it's like, I don't know, I don't think that that's going to make for something engaging.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But it kind of boils down to, like, sort of making the player rethink their strategies with these new demons.
And the more you're thinking, the more you're engaged. That's really it.
Yeah.
That's like the whole name of the game.
Oh yeah, I totally agree about that part. Speaking of actually engaging demons, I know that in Doom 2016 it sort of introduced a when engaging demons, but also when you fail to properly engage a demon and sort of slip up, you get a little bit of a punishment, like a sort of like a penalty where a demon will sort of like knock you back a bit, where it nudges you to the side and you get hit. But in Doom Eternal, it seems as if like you get punished heavily for simply getting hit by a demon, whereas if you were to get, you know, like a piece of your liver taken out by a cacodemon in the middle of the air, then you're sort of sliding in the air to the point where you're immobilized for like a second or two, where you cannot swap or jump or dash. So I was just wondering, what was the reasoning for changing the 2016 knockback penalty to crowd control, where it simply pushes the player to the side and like immobilizes them to the point where they could just take on incoming damage if they slip off?
To basically make it so movement really just required. You know, like you could kind of fall into what happens with Eternal, because you have dash and you have the meathook and these different abilities. You could just easily trivialize the enemies by just kind of holding your ground and staying in a corner, essentially, and just kiting them to you and messing them up. You know, like you've got rocket launchers and chain guns and all this stuff. So with Eternal, because the race car got faster, the player with dash and all this stuff, and meathook in particular, the AI, the racetrack, the chessboard had to get to keep up with the player, had to get a little bit more demanding, let's say. And what we say, like, you know, the game is constantly teaching you something. Like there's kind of it's teaching you its mechanics and its core combat loop. You know, within that loop, there's certainly variety and opportunity and creativity, but and it's dynamic. It's constantly changing, so it's not repetitive. You're not always just doing the same thing every time, because anything could happen. The cacodemon can come from this angle or that angle or whatever. You know, like so. When they displace you, it's kind of like a pinball. This is kind of the analogy that we used when I was describing it, talking with the AI guys. It's like these are frustration bumpers, and as soon as you touch them, like a pinball, you ricochet off right back into the core combat loop. And so one of the pillars of the combat loop is movement as defense. We are a movement-based shooter. That's what separates us from like a cover-based shooter, is we're a movement-based shooter. Well, the best way to get the player to move is that the second that they stand still, the AI are designed to basically crowd them, and then they knock them around and take away their movement, essentially making the player feel somewhat stuck, depending on how many AI get around you and what kind of attacks you're getting hit with, which makes you basically, the demons become like an electric fence. Like you're constantly moving because you don't want them near you, which promotes movement. So the higher difficulty you go, the more aggressive the AI pursue you, the more you have to move. So Doom Eternal, with each difficulty setting, is kind of asking you to master more and more of that combat loop. I mean, the overused term at this point, the fun zone, which is just basically our core combat loop. And movement being probably the most important component of that. And so it's really just there to provide the player with the incentive, the proper motivation to move. You know, that's it. Think of it like in a stealth game, it's the awareness of an enemy. Mm-hmm. If the enemy's awareness, have you ever played a stealth game or a game that has stealth components, but it doesn't really double down on stealth? It's kind of doing it like, you could stealth. The stealth doesn't feel as refined because the enemies aren't tuned to be hyper aware to your presence, right? So then you're able to kind of cheese the stealth, or worse, you know, it's just not all really sewn together, so the system in the game doesn't really feel like you're really motivated to do it, right? You don't have to stealth, or maybe you could stealth, or like the stealth feels kind of mushy. So that's really it. We're a movement-based shooter, and the way we get you to move is by the attacks of the AI. The biggest thing that we changed in 2016 was when you get close to an enemy in 2016, and you have this super powerful super shotgun, you could shoot them, and the response time of the enemy to swat you away from them is really slow. With dash added to the game, I mean, I think it worked for that game, but with dash added to Eternal, in the early parts of development, you could dash in, shoot, dash out, and they would just be swinging at the air. And that felt cool, but man, you could just break the whole game. Like, and it got boring, because that's all you did, was dash, shoot, dash out, dash, shoot, dash out. And so we hyper-tuned it to basically tell the player, you have to falter me before you get in to hit me with your close-range super shotgun. That allowed us to make the super... So the guns in Eternal actually were able... they got stronger because we're asking a little bit more of you in order to pull off those attacks. So if you want to get in at point-blank range and use the super shotgun, you have to freeze the enemy. You have to burn them. You have to do something to falter them. And then you could go in and super shotgun them and obliterate them. You know, whether it's destroying a weak point, which guarantees a falter. So it asks a bit more of the player, and then in turn it allows us to make the weapons even stronger. So it's all just in the name of balance, and everything in Doom Eternal is meticulously designed to push you into the core combat loop.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I totally agree with that in terms of like giving the player a lot of choices in how to actually engage demons in terms of how agile the Slayer is in Doom Eternal with his dashes and his meat hook.
Well, and it encourages the player to use all of the traversal mechanics in the level as well. Like, I'll watch first-time players not really take monkey bars seriously, not really utilize the entirety of the space, not use jump pads, right? And on Ultraviolence, I mean, you're going to get displaced, you're going to get knocked around, you're going to get killed. And then what is the best thing to do? To move. And then you'll notice all of these traversal tools in the space that are just sitting there waiting for you to use them. And great players use them. They use meat hook, they use monkey bars, they use jump pads. And so as you go up in difficulty, again, the AI become more aggressive, encouraging you into the combat loop even more. And before you know it, you're jumping around the space and you essentially become the Doom Slayer. You know, you're just super mobile and laying down the damage from all directions. It feels awesome.
Yeah, you're basically like an AC 130 in Doom Eternal.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with like how open the environments are in Doom Eternal with its combat engagement arenas, it definitely allows the player to express themselves freely in terms of being in the air or also being on the ground. But it does...
And you wouldn't use that whole space if we didn't tune the AI like that to displace you, because again, every time there's an AI near you, you're kind of subconsciously motivated to move around them, or right? You feel it. You're like constantly moving like this, which promotes movement, and that's all driven by how aggressive the AI and how they displace you.
Yeah, absolutely, especially with all the versatile options that you're given in Doom Eternal. But speaking of some versatile options, the meat hook. I definitely have a very, very interesting question about the meat hook. I'm certain that when you guys were designing the meat hook, I would probably guess that you envisioned having the player sort of using it to pull themselves towards the demon just to rank in that like close shot with the super shotgun to get that max damage. But in the community, ever since Doom Eternal launched and realized that they could use the meat hook in a much more versatile way, of sort of like yeet hooking themselves around arenas and having huge max speeds. Did you ever imagine people would be using the meat hook in that sort of way as a transversal option?
It was designed to be a traversal tool. The frame rate dependent yeet hooks are definitely like an exploit that's a reward for players with higher performing, PCs. That it's part of the game now. But it was always designed to be a traversal tool. So beginners could use it to pull themselves to the enemy. But I mean, we spent a lot of time, balancing the sort of physics of like swinging yourself around enemies. Marty in particular, he loved swinging around. That's how we used it mostly to start. So we had people in the office who preferred one method over the other, and you started to explore like, those are like happy accidents where you realize like, well, if I break off from far away, I get higher. If I launch on a bigger character, if the character's above me, like all of these different things that you could do to launch yourself in the air. And then yeet hooking, those are just part of the PC exploits. So the using it as a traversal tool, always a part of the mechanic, I guess you'd call it, from the beginning. And a big credit to Jeff Moran, Peter Sokol, all of the amazing programmers and designers who worked on that. And then I think the PC 144 hertz craziness, that's just a part of the game now. So much so that we turned it on for Battlemode on console. And we're entertaining turning it on for the base single-player campaign as well. The only thing for console, the only thing that we worry about is, for all platforms, is that it's a little advanced. Like, it makes you move much faster, and that's really cool. But I don't know. We'll see. We're talking about it. I've told the community that before, like, because again, we turned it on for console on Battlemode. It feels great. So maybe we'll look to see if we could turn it on elsewhere in the game, so that way everybody can enjoy it, because that extra frame rate dependent meat hook stuff that the high level players do, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I remember when Doom Eternal came out. I didn't really get it on PC. I got it on PS4. So when I was seeing people playing Battlemode and they were just having like those crazy yeet hooks and using it as like a tactical advantage, and then I meat hook on like consoles, I was kind of a little bit jealous. But
well, I mean, Cynic has he's a console player and he's got some meat hook tutorials that you could do some cool shit on console, but certainly the PC it's a different ball game.
No, absolutely. I know. Actually, I made a little guide about that before too, when I was actually trying to like be an advocate for console players in Doom Eternal, because I know that was definitely a small, I want to say like a little like minority online in terms of the Doom Eternal community that always was talked down about. Oh, you can't do this tech on console. You can't do this, but only on PC. And then you sort of just find a way that you can do it on console.
I play Doom exclusively on a controller. I mean, I play mouse and keyboard sometimes, and I'm okay. I'm not as good as you guys, but like I love it on a controller, and on a console. I mean, it's important that the game is made for everybody. That's why when I stream, I play it on a base controller, which is actually a step down, as I said, than what I like to play it on, which is the paddles. Doom Eternal with paddles is just amazing. It is so much better. Like, it feels so good, but it also feels amazing with the base controller as well. And I always play it like that. So yeah, I am pro all platforms for sure.
I mean, you play with inverted. I mean, I can't really name anyone else other than you who actually play on a controller inverted.
I like it. I play all my games that way.
Oh, that is absolutely insane. I remember playing like a lot of old titles as a kid that like have inverted just manually on, and other games that weren't. So it was definitely a weird transition between certain games like that.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm just used to it. I could probably switch, but I don't know. I'm used to it.
I don't know. It just makes you a little bit more unique.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't do it, honestly. But, speaking about console Doom Eternal, like I said, it's definitely, in terms of like the online presence of Doom Eternal, it's always about PC. You have like all these like crazy quick swaps. You go from one gun to another gun to another gun, and you have like the precise aiming. And then when people talk about console Doom Eternal, they talk about the limitations that version of Doom Eternal brings compared to the PC version of Doom Eternal. And,
which is pretty consistent for all FPSs, though, right? I mean, like, there's always been a division between like the FPS mouse and keyboard crowd versus the console crowd, and there's jealousy over the auto aiming. There's like it's always been like a pretty heated debate in most FPS games for sure. I mean, I was a big Warzone player. I haven't played in a while, but you always see that stuff.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But one thing that was actually very unique in terms of the argument about PC and console version of Doom Eternal has to be the quick swapping, where you're sort of just you let all loose on PC. You got all these buttons that you can press, and you can have like a button specifically mapped out for a weapon, and then you can just customize the binds so it can be all around your WASD keys, so you can just freely, comfortably reach around. Or if you got like Spider-Man hands, then you can just use like the number pad on top of the keys. And it's great that you're talking about sort of appealing to like the console crowd in terms of like the meat hook, how you added it to Battlemode with 144 frames per second speed, and possibly adding that to base campaign. I was wondering, do you have any plans to maybe expand upon making it a little bit controller friendly, Doom Eternal on console, that sort of blurs the line between the PC version and console version. And what I mean by that is sort of binding individual weapons to a certain unbinded button. Because I know a controller in the base campaign, you have one button that's unbinded, and all you can really do is swap them around. And then the Ancient Gods Part 1, you have 2, and then Battle Mode, you have 3.
Yeah. We talk about it. No promises and no announcements of any kind, but like it is something that we're discussing. I will say that absolutely, like that is a credit to you guys. I mean, like I'm doing this, you know, kind of social media world tour with the community because you guys have sprang up and become, you know, such a voice for Doom Eternal, and the numbers show that. You want to laugh, like the console community for Battle Mode, it's huge. Like huge. I mean, huge for Battle Mode. I'm not saying it's huge. I'm saying for the community of Battle Mode, which is a solid community. There's a lot of people on console playing it, but also just in general, the console community for Eternal is really solid, and then just like the engagement around Eternal, we see, you know, how many people are playing it still and on all platforms, and it's incredible. I mean, to be expected. We made 2 DLCs and master levels, so there's a lot of content that we provided people with to continue playing the game and mastering it. But I think the depth of the experience really rewards people to keep playing it on higher difficulties. That's one thing that we focused on with Eternal, is that we didn't see as many people playing on Nightmare and higher difficulties on 2016. They would kind of play it at a difficulty that they enjoyed, maybe play it once, you know, finish. As I said, the completion percentages went up in Eternal, but also the engagement went up, like the number of times people are replaying it and playing it on higher difficulties. And all of this has basically the conversation around some exploration possibly in the future around remapping the controller to allow some way for console players to quick switch with greater efficiency on a controller. I think that's warranted. And we talked about it today, actually. So lots of really good suggestions on the community. We'll be reaching out and see where it goes. No promises. But we'll definitely be talking with the community more about it. We would love to do that for sure. It's just a matter of if we can. That's all. But I would say that obviously there's tap R1 for quick switching between 2 weapons, and then being able to flick switch with the wheel, which is something that people, you know, I do in my stream, just kind of tap and flick. But I'm with you. Like if you could remap to a D-pad or, you know, reconfigure to this thing, like there's just a bunch of things that would be really interesting, and lots of amazing suggestions out there from the community. So let's see where it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like the majority of the player base, I would argue, is on console because, I mean, due to these terrible times, not everyone can actually build a PC that could be powerful to run most PC games.
Eternal's huge on PC. I don't want to, I wouldn't say it's more or less. I couldn't give you the statistics, but like it's definitely like got a very passionate, healthy PC audience. But no, we're not favoring any one audience over the other, and we'd love to look at seeing what we could do for quick switching on a controller.
Yeah, I mean, like again, like it's about Doom Eternal, especially on like PC and on console. I will have to like say that the engine is absolutely well optimized to the point where it could even run on Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely insane. I know there have been moments where I brought that into work, and on my break I would play Doom Eternal, and then I finish up work, I come home, and I play it on PC. And one really cool thing about the Switch version of Doom Eternal has to be like the gyro aiming, where it actually sort of allows the sort of console aspect of Doom Eternal for the players to have that precise aiming like it is on PC, where you aim with the wrist, but with a Joy-Con you're sort of using your wrist, and that's something I was really hoping that could possibly be implemented in other console platforms.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. As we were talking about console and sort of strafing onto battle mode, I actually got some questions about battle mode that I know not many people actually asked you about. But
Sure.
I know battle mode definitely has a very huge fan base, going as far as to having its very own dedicated Discord server with a lot of people who are very passionate about the game mode. I myself am very passionate about it to the point where I'm actually a console coach on there. And
Yeah, I saw that, which is awesome.
yeah, all thanks to the guides I made.
Yeah, we appreciate it, and we really love our battle mode community. It's a passionate and dedicated group. They're so inviting. I mean, go to spicydemons.com if you're a battle mode player, and you'll find coaches, you'll find strats, you'll find so much information, and just a group of people who really love the mode. I hear that there's a tournament Discord starting up, and we're hard at work on Battle Mode 2.0 for you guys. So yeah, it's alive and well.
But one question I actually had about, excuse me, battle mode in general is you see how it is right now. You see how people play it, and you see how crazy big the community is for battle mode in terms of like the Discord server and the people who are passionate about it. When creating battle mode, did you ever anticipate it being this fast-paced, high-octane-like multiplayer mode it is today?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's a buzz that you get from battle mode that's kind of, dare I say, it's even, well, there's no question, it's even more intense than the campaign. Because, you know, like a high-level battle mode match against two demons who know what they're doing and a slayer who knows what he's doing, it's unbelievable to watch. And it's incredible to play. I mean, it requires, like, just super high-end skill and mastery over the mechanics, and the strategies going on are just crazy. And really, that mode was based on three kind of core pillars. It's been so long since I've talked about it, so let me see if I remember. But we wanted something with deep strategy. So like beyond just like I saw you first, I shot first, I have good aim. Like we didn't want that to be just that's it. You know, like hey, we turn a corner, we shoot. Like I'm not dismissive of that type of experience. I'm not saying we don't like that. It was just that like if we're gonna make a multiplayer, let's make something different. You know. It was made internally. Obviously, we didn't make multiple modes. Like, you know, we had the time to make. We wanted to make one thing that was really special, and that, you know, that was deep. That had some layers to the experience. So deep strategy, high drama, like really good pacing, like that battle mode ebbs and flows, right? Like you could like. There's peaks and moments and peaks and valleys to the experience. Moments where you're pushing and you're trying to take out the demons because you're on that push, but they survive and another demon comes back. And now it's very much at its peak. It's a back and forth match. It's a 12-round fight, right? And we felt that internally. Like when we would play it, it would get pretty sweaty. I mean, it would get crazy. And you could see that the elements were there, that in the hands of people who understood how it worked, you'd have something really special, and that's what we see. You know, it's this small, you know, really little gem of a multiplayer experience, and in particular, we wanted it to be for the fans of Doom Eternal. Like, the difference with 2016's multiplayer is it doesn't really play like the single player. Like, that's what is not good about it, is that if you love the single player and then you go to play the multiplayer, they're kind of two different experiences. Now, we love the 2016 multiplayer. That I played the shit out of that. I'm passionate about it. We love it. You know, I worked on it. So like, but what I didn't like, you know, hindsight 2020, is that the barrier to entry was very, you know, it was kind of steep because what you learned in in 2016, single player didn't really translate to the multiplayer. But what I like about Battle Mode, what it was designed for, is that once you beat the game on Nightmare, or you really feel like you've mastered the combat loop, it's kind of time for you to try Battle Mode, and that's Battle Mode to me is like the final difficulty setting for Eternal. You know, that's where like if you really want to test yourself, head over to Spicy Demons, and you know sign up for a match against some good demons, and let's see how good you really are. And I think that you could attest to this. I think is that it'll make you a better Eternal player. Like you definitely.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you start to like delete demons with efficiency because you have to, you know. And I love that it's not just aggressive, it's tactically aggressive, and we're always working to improve it. We have a patch coming up where we spoke with many members of the community, both on console and PC, to continually improve the mode. You know, we had a period there while working on DLC 2 where I talked to the Spicy Demons, and it's true, like, we weren't really supporting the mode for a little bit. Like, we were supporting it and addressing any issues, but like when we launched, I mean, we were updating the game and rebalancing it and addressing things and fixing metas on a bi-weekly basis. I mean, we were updating it constantly. We did have to hyper-focus on some DLC stuff for a while, but now we're back and we're speaking with the community on a near weekly basis. And I'm proud to say in patch 5, we've got a map in development. We've got all kinds of things, you know, that we're working on. That's not anything new. We've talked with the community before that we're working on more content. But in particular, we've got some balance stuff that's been kind of, you know, outstanding balance issues that we know the community wants us to address. And most importantly, the thing that pisses us all off about battle mode that's got to get better is the latency. You know, like we had a period where the latency felt amazing, and then it kind of like regressed a little bit. And so we're working closely with the community, and this is why I'm doing this tour, because we owe you guys so much. You have helped us zero in on the issues. I mean, as I know, you know, like, we've had play sessions with you know, under NDA Spicy Demons, and being able to zero in on exactly what's happening, because we couldn't see it. Like, our data tells us that it's okay, but obviously there's some moments where it lags and it drops. And so zeroing in on that stuff, I just got a report from Ryan, our producer on Battlemode, to guys, just few people care more about battle mode and its success than Ryan. I mean, that guy is so dedicated. Same James Duggan, Fook, all the guys working on that mode. You know, bringing in our tech guys, Evan, you know, Cheddar, a bunch of guys, Richard, who are hard at work in making that experience feel better for you guys. And I think we've found some things that should consistently try to improve the performance of the mode bit by bit. But we couldn't be happier, honestly. It's awesome. I love it. And Marty recently spoke. You know, he checked out Spicy Demons, and he's so proud. I mean, he thinks it's the coolest thing, and yeah, it's a great part of Doom Eternal for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's great to even see that there's Idsoftware devs who are also equally passionate about this game mode. I mean, heck, I'm certain that all of them are passionate about Doom Eternal in general, but also with battle mode, it's great to see a little bit of that passion shared from the community and also the developers.
It's a high skill mode, you know it, right? It's not something you could walk into and like you're gonna get in 2 matches. There's no way. Like, it's deep. It's really deep. It's shockingly deep, right? I mean, it's there's a lot to learn, you know, for sure. And especially when you play against people who know what they're doing. You know, like, could you jump into a match and just destroy somebody? Like, sure. I mean, but yeah, head over to Spicy Demons. It's basically our LFG. We've got, you know, channels for consoles, Xbox, PS4, PC. You're gonna get coaches like Buckio and tons of guys, and so it's a cool place.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I'll even say the battle mode is actually the sole reason why I finally built a PC and got rid of my gaming laptop.
Yes.
Yeah, because I absolutely love those high octane gameplays. I remember I was watching like the Friday night fights, and I absolutely loved watching them. Unfortunately, when they premiered, I was always at work, so I would like come home and then I would just watch them, I'll like binge them and everything. And I definitely blame Matrix for actually sort of luring me into that, and also like the PC aspect of Doom Eternal because of battle mode with how much you could just achieve. And you're right, especially with like the strategic approach with the demons, and also just trying to like work around their cooldowns and everything. But
when to push, how to push, exactly.
Yeah.
Like when to take advantage, when to bait their attacks, like how to, I love watching. It's shockingly deep. Like you'll jump on and you might beat somebody and feel like, oh, I got this. I just DPS combo, press them at a certain time. But then like that meta of like, mastering the different arenas, like where the Slayer is comfortable and where he's not comfortable, and where your traversal options, and like how to bait their attacks, when they combine their attacks, and like it's just getting penalized for being overly aggressive, not aggressive enough, not aggressive at the right time. I mean, I think battle mode at its worst, and which is always what we're working on, is when it's just kamikaze demon, and sometimes, depending on the balance and where it's at, like it could devolve into that. But I think, a great Slayer will make kamikaze demons pay. So, but a Slayer who's not there yet might, just crumble against the pressure of really skilled demons. But like when you watch the high level players, go at it, it's this wonderful back and forth. It's cool. I mean, we worked really hard on it, and we're proud to see that a year later people are still engaged.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when you guys were showing off like some early gameplay just before Doom Eternal launched in March. I was sort of like drooling all over it. And at times when you play it, you kind of forget you're playing Doom Eternal, because it's just a completely different ballgame in terms of what you've learned, and just now you're sort of learning a little bit of other things. So you are right in the sense that it is a completely different difficulty mode, but it pushes you to learn new things with these player demons, and I just absolutely love it. It's a high-octane, high-paced gameplay. But,
I mean, we just couldn't... I like the fast-paced nature of battle mode. Like, I think that it's refreshing to kind of, like, jump in, bam, like... it feels good. It's kind of feels like a fighting game, to be honest, which I like.
Yeah, actually, and Spicy Demons really go into detail about the weapon combos, as well as some of the frame data of player demons and their cooldowns. And yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, Doom Eternal in general is kind of being treated as a fighting game in terms of like, oh, these weapon combos. Oh, you can use the meathook to do this. Oh, you have the shield, and you can use it just sort of like bash into the demon repeatedly and vulture them and stagger them. But no,
totally.
Absolutely, I agree. But going on still with battle mode, you see how very passionate the community is, and yeah, there was like a brief period where things were kind of at a standstill because you guys had to prioritize on the DLC. You had to get that out. Did you ever consider going further than Friday night fights and potentially host public tournaments to allow other Slayers and Demons to participate in Friday night fights instead of just limited to like some people, like streamers?
PVD, we would like to re-engage, certainly. Let us get through our stream, kind of a little bit of distance from Tag 2, and, let that... I think we're still, finishing up sort of the marketing of DLC 2. We just released it, at this a couple of weeks ago. But, like, and then, yeah, I think Josh and I could sit down with Marty and Bethesda and, id and talk about, like, what's next? What do we do next for battle mode? Obviously, we have some content that we'll be releasing soon for it, and let's just see. Let's see what we can do. But we, Josh put together Friday Night Fights. I mean, that was his initiative, and we love it. So certainly, I don't know that we've seen the last of Friday Night Fights, but what form that takes when we come back, maybe, again, we have a competitive mode that I don't call it competitive. It's like Battle Mode 2.0 that we're putting together. It has a ranking system in it and all that stuff. So it's like, let's see where that lands and time it with different things. Let's talk. But certainly, yeah, I don't think we've seen the last of some form of Friday Night Fights. We loved it. We only stopped doing it because Josh can only do so many things in a week.
Yeah.
So like, and I, he and I got together. We thought it would be cool to stream, and that's kind of taken off now. Like, the weekly stream, the numbers just keep going up. So we like doing it, and it's Josh and I's. I mean, we look forward to it every week. We're just having fun. So unfortunately, that does kind of take away from some other stuff. But let's see what we can do.
Yeah, no, especially with the weekly streams, it's absolutely amazing to see how you're also reaching out to the community in different light, where you're actually interacting with them in the stream. And again,
totally.
you don't see any like game directors really doing that.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. We owe everything to you guys. So, and we're so grateful for honestly all your help. Let's be honest, in this work from home environment, you know, uh, we've 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 come together a bit, the developers and the community, and worked together on a few things, and it's been awesome. So we love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Strafing away from Battlemode, I got some questions in regards to parts of the base campaign I definitely would like to ask. Some of them probably just be like a little bit like witty, but I do have this one. So when developing Doom Eternal, you have like a whole wide variety of levels, and I actually recently made a tweet where I asked some people what was their favorite level, and throughout all those comments, about like 100 or 200 of them so far, none of them did I see someone complain about a level. So I see a lot of people are very passionate, and they definitely have like their own favorite levels. But I wanted to ask you, what level are you most proud of creating in Doom Eternal, and most favorite?
Well, I didn't create the levels. Again, we have to give credit to the level designers and the combat and gameplay designers and the artists and the programmers and everybody.
Right.
Yeah, it ain't just me in there. It is definitely a team sport, and so a huge credit to the team. I am happy for them that you guys can't even pick one that you don't like. Obviously, I think that's fantastic. So, as far as the levels are concerned, it's so hard. I think each of them have their own place in the experience. So, like intro, I love intro. You get carried in by a giant creature, and how cool is that? I mean, Doom Eternal opens on such a grand scale as you see this thing like put down this giant arc that you've been carried on and walk off. It introduces the main characters, and it has a job to do. You know what I mean? Like each level kind of has like a purpose, and that level is to introduce you to the mechanics of Doom, and I think it does it tremendously. That level's got a lot of work to do, and I think it does a great job of introducing you to the game, the world, the fiction, all kinds of stuff. I mean, I could just go down the list. So I don't have a favorite. That's the truth. I think each of them has strengths and a role to play in the overall experience and the pacing of the game. So it would be that'd be like which of my kids do I, you know what I mean? Like it's a tough answer. Yeah, I will say that each one tries to play off of what came before it and what comes ahead of it. So like, for example, Arc Complex, I believe it's Super Gore Nest, Arc Complex, and then Mars Core, correct?
Yes.
That is the sequence. Yeah. So Arc Complex, like Super Gore Nest, is a sort of a gameplay driven map, right? Like tricks and traps, winds in on itself, sort of classic Doom. Jason O'Connell special. Like, love that map, right? And that map can stand on its own. Like you could emphasize that in that map, because that's what that experience, that's what players will look back and it'll have its own kind of flavor to it. The next map, being that you just had that experience, James Sellin, Morgan, he went on to work, where does he work now? I think he works at Naughty Dog, but the fantastic level designer did. Then James Sellin, took over the map. He laid down the foundation. We have two departments. We have level design, kind of work out the pacing of the map structure, things you see where you go, some of the gameplay elements. But then also we have a gameplay and combat focused department that really like focuses on, what it is you're doing inside the levels. They do some gameplay stuff. They do some, obviously combat, and those two departments work closely together to provide you with the experiences that you have. And again, that's not mentioning the art, which is huge. Skybox, sound, I mean, everything. Like pretty much the levels are the experience. Everybody contributes. Programming, it's huge. So that's not to mention the progression that goes into the game. I mean, that's like, when do I get the thing? Where, when do I pick up the micro missiles? How, blah blah blah, tokens, systems, all that stuff. So so Arc Complex is designed to be like seek and destroy. Like, okay, this was like a really classic video gamey type level, classic Doom. Now let's give you a straight ahead kind of like, I mean, even though there are options, like it weaves and it winds it on itself, but it's much more like moving through the hallways, acquiring targets, seek and destroy. The music, everything about the experience is designed to push you forward. And that because that's kind of like just a change of pace from the map that came before. Then after that, we've got something that's much more cinematic and grand that opens up wide, because you go from the tight corridors, you go from the crazy mazes of Super Gore Nest to the tight corridors of Art Complex, where you're moving through really fast, and then to the grand cosmic space and the cinematic scope of Mars Core. Like that's just a good little example of like how each map kind of is designed with what came before and what will come after in mind. It's all relative, and then, like from there, it's like Necrovault, pure Doom Eternal heavy metal classic album cover, chains, suffering, souls, humans in crates, like, just delivering on the scope and the scale of classic vintage Doom hell, like, which to a degree that we never did in 2016, and then opening up to the heavens, like a vision of heaven that players have never seen before, eerily beautiful. I think Urdak is one of like the most creepy, beautiful maps we've ever made. I mean, the sound design, Rich Eastwood designed that map, fantastic, just experience, did the gameplay as well. Just the sound design. I mean, I think you have to give so much credit to Mick Gordon and our sound designers for just creating this. The ambience of Urdak is amazing. Like just that it's just creepy. And it feels great. And it has some of my favorite fights. And then Final Sin, Luis Perez, designed that map, did a lot of the gameplay. Adam Badeau did a lot of the gameplay on that. Luis did the level design. Then that is probably the map that I played the most when it came to pure fun, like replay value. Those final maps are really just about bathing in the combat. That's it. We're done introducing things. We introduced new shit all the way up to Urdak, but once we get to Final Sin, it's like it's the game saying like, I'm gonna give you BFG shots. You get to use the BFG if you want. But for the black belts, for people who really want to test themselves, don't shoot the BFG. Like, just let's see if you could beat these encounters on your own, And it's basically the black belt test, just to see how good you are. So I think what we see from a metrics perspective is that people replay that map. I think that's one of the maps people play the most, simply because it is just pure combat. Like if you love the combat of Eternal, just play Final Sin. So yeah, and that's skipping over like Cultist Base, which, I mean, what I'm Nick Dumbeck, level designer, and I believe he did combat on that as well. And I think other people did combat there too. I forget sometimes, but purely skill-based puzzles, right? Just the more you play Cultist Base, the better you get at it. That's why it's so satisfying to replay that level. Really, really smart combat puzzles in that map. Into Doom Hunter Base, another Luis Perez, with Adam Badeau, I believe, doing combat. But and is it James Helen? I'm not sure. That map really taking traversal puzzles to that next level. Like really saying, okay, we have meathook, monkey bars, and all these mechanics. Let's see how far we can take it. And I think that map stands on its own. Like, there's no way that we should be bringing that level of traversal puzzles into the next map. That map stands on its own. That's where we turned up the dial. But then the next map, is just meant to be a different kind of experience. And that's even skipping Taras Nabad, which Taras Nabad is the map that basically says, you have just been given a super weapon of the BFG. Now we will test you to use it, and so those encounters are designed to basically encourage the use of BFG. I mean, the player has a super weapon at that point. So some of those crazy encounters where you're just like, dude, it's not an accident that we introduced the Arch file after you get the BFG, because if he summons, the BFG is there to basically take out his summons. So clearly I love Doom Eternal and am extremely proud of the team and all the work that went into it. Yeah, I know every inch of that game, and I love every second of it, and I'm so proud of everyone who worked on it. I mean, they should be proud that is just some fantastic work done by really dedicated people. And I couldn't be prouder of them and the team and the work that they did. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, definitely Doom Eternal really exceeded expectations in terms of a sequel. I know it exceeded my expectations. Me playing on a splint, I really enjoyed it, even though I was still like slightly handicapped because I was injured at the time.
I didn't. Go ahead.
No. I was just saying, like, I was playing with a splint at the time, but like I was just so immersed, and I absolutely loved it, even though I was a little bit handicapped. It was just so many things you could do. And I definitely had like a really good time playing it.
Yeah, Patrick Stone did Necroval A and B. I forgot to say that, part 1 and 2.
Nice.
And guy's a beast. Beast. It's all we have at id, our Navy SEAL designers and just programmers. It's the building is, well, now the building is empty, but the when we're not in work from home, the building is just packed full of talent. And on top of all that, we made Battlemode. So, like, I mean, it was Eternal's a pretty meaty package.
No, yeah,
No fat. We didn't want any aspect of the package that you got to feel light. You know what I mean? Like, kind of trivial. Like every. That's why there's not a lot of modes. I mean, there's no modes in Battlemode. You know, it's just we wanted to really focus on just everything we contributed to Eternal being really meaningful. And we're just getting started, because wait till you see the master levels. They're gonna be you're gonna be pretty nuts.
Yeah, you said they're gonna be bonkers, huh?
We have to, because you guys wanted Tag 2 to be harder, so it's going to get crazy. You know, I think we got to do it. We gotta make those DLC 2 master levels pretty nuts. Cool. I have a playtest coming up. I mean, let's see where it's at. I think it's coming along really well. So we're just dialing in the experience for you guys, and I'm proud to say that. By the way, I didn't mention, like, again, I could just name a million people, so I won't even get started. But just proud of the whole team. I was going to say Jerry. Jerry's our mission design director, and while he doesn't work on any one map specifically from beginning to end, he works on all the maps, and he also trains up a lot of our young designers, you know, in id Tech and things, and the tools, and been at id, I mean, a long time, going all the way back to Doom 3. Guy's beast.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
That's amazing.
I mean, again, I rarely get a chance to even, like, name the artist. I mean, the art team is huge. So, but, you know, between Lear and Cameron, Tony Garza, our art director, John Lane, our concept artist, I mean, I could just name off all of the artists who work on the stuff. They're all monsters. And the programmers. This will be a long interview. I should just read off the list of the credits.
That's actually a really nice touch about Doom Eternal's credits, by the way. Doom 2016, you got the Slayer and the nice little screenshots where he's posing, and he's with the Night Sentinel Warriors on top of the Spider Mastermind with his BFG. But it was a nice touch in the credits for Doom Eternal, where you sort of like displayed the entire Idsoftware team with their own little pictures, and just showing how many people did it take to make this one game.
It was fun too. Like, pretty much if you have a good development cycle, it's hard to make it's hard for a good game to come out of a bad development cycle. Like, I mean, that's not to say that it's all peaches and cream all the time, and there aren't moments where, you know, shit goes wrong or you're frustrated. But, like, for the most part, I mean, that honestly just even makes up what makes you look back on the experience and think that it was positive and it was a memorable experience. You know, like, it's the ups and downs. But yeah, you really want to have good games come out of good development cycles, and Eternal's development cycle was really good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I got actually a few questions about some other aspects of Doom Eternal.
Sure.
I know that you touched briefly in the streams of there was some inspiration for certain things in Doom Eternal. Some inspirations coming from, like, books or movies. And I just want to ask, are there any specific movies that had influence in the creation of Doom Eternal? Because I remember you, just shortly before the game released, you mentioned that the Marauder first encounter, where the Doomslayer sort of like squares off with the Marauder for the first time, you referenced it as the Bruce Lee against Chuck Norris. So I was wondering if you had, like, more of those in Doom Eternal.
Yeah, it's totally, not only that, but like all great, showdowns, for sure. Like just there's so many, and really we wanted to make that opening scene memorable. There's the camp of Eternal. I mean, I think there's an army of darkness. I mean, Evil Dead continues to be just a great source of inspiration. There's I'll swallow your soul. Like in just the bad guys are comically bad. In the Evil Dead universe. And I think that like it's more fun than sort of mean spirited. And kind of going over the top and sort of comic book and fun with the whole experience. Unabashedly video gamey, and so yeah, I think that the as we said, the sort of comic book horror, the popcorn horror aspect of Evil Dead, was just a big influence on us, and probably more than anything, just the original Doom. I mean, I think Doom 2016 probably has much more of a Doom 3 aesthetic, right? That's kind of dark and gritty. And like, and Doom Eternal really dials into Doom 1993. Like, from the characters and the way they look to the overall aesthetic, to the floating pickups, to the blue health, the blue vials. Like, it's just very much an homage to Doom 1993. But I'd probably say like Army of Darkness, Evil Dead, and classic 1993 Doom.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I know that like I kind of had like a bit of a Predator vibe with Doom Eternal. When you look at the upgraded Predator suit with the shoulder cannon and the arm blade, it just gave me like a bit of a Predator vibe seeing him with like all that.
Slayer as the hunter. Yeah, he hunts them. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, absolutely. Just going through here. Okay, so I know you were talking about like some of the Hellbreeze being like, or the bad guys being like comically bad, but when you have the Doomslayer, you show him off as this powerful and intimidating person, especially on Mars Core's intro, where he's simply just walking into the OAC facility on Phobos Space, and all the humans are just like, they're stunned and they're scared of him, and he's just like this merciless machine who's just ripping and tearing through hordes of demons, and he doesn't say anything but just uses his anger as a weapon. And you have the skins that sort of like portray him in a more intimidating manner, like the Cultist Slayer, where he's just like this demonic machine that just chose to think for himself. And then you have the Zombie Slayer, where you just killed him, but he's coming back. And then you start introducing other skins for the Doomslayer, where he's a redneck, and he's got a bit of a gut. He's wearing a unicorn outfit, and he's also wearing a cosplay Slayer suit. So I'm just wondering, why create goofy skins for a testosterone-filled beast killing demons?
Well, because, there's certainly like a through line of Eternal and Doom that is like, you are the ultimate badass. But also like unlocking skins that are just also for pure fan service goofiness. I mean, I don't think that Doom should take itself too seriously. It could be seriously fun and a seriously, focused video game, and yeah, the lore, you're the ultimate badass, of all time. But like, the skins, I think, are an opportunity for those that pursue that stuff and unlock them through Battlemode and the kind of the season pass thing, whatever the seasons. Is just to have fun. That's it. Like to give people, the meme maker aspect of Doom, and that's really it. Just to have fun. That's it. I mean, honestly, all of Doom. So much of Doom, the through line is. I spoke with Adrian Carmack at a bar once. I ran into him, and I had a chance to like kind of do like a little on the spot interview of like what he was thinking when they were working on the original Doom and stuff. And his answers were just everything we did was to make us laugh. That's it. Like he said he referenced Evil Dead. He said, Evil Dead, and we just wanted to do stuff that we thought was funny. and cool, and that's it. And so we try to really maintain that spirit. I think certainly there's a serious edge to Doom 3 that's really awesome, and that is always going to be a part of the Doom legacy. Is that what's fun about Doom, and what we try to do with Doom 2016 and To Eternal, is that they're different games. Like, they are from the same universe, and there's gameplay mechanics and general high-level principles that are similar, and it's certainly the similar through line of the story. But we really, really wanted to make sure that if you were to buy the full catalog of Doom 2016, the reboot series, right, or play them in sequence, that they stand apart as their own experiences, and that you wouldn't play 2016 and then get halfway through Eternal and be like, I'm getting tired of this because it's just kind of more of 2016. I love it, but like, you know, that these two games, if you play them back to back, they really kind of stand on their own. And that was, you know, not only just visually, but like, you know, gameplay wise as well. So, you know, that's important to us. And but that they all feel Doom. And like I said, we really, really keyed off of 1993's Doom big time, which is honestly more cartoonish than Doom 3, obviously. You know, like, just, I've done it, you know, with the funny sound, brr, like when they die, and, you know, the gore sounds, and it's just, it's unabashedly video gamey. It's not taking itself too seriously. Those were our main pillars for Eternal.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, especially in Doom Eternal, where you sort of let the player build their own Slayer with the skins, where they have their own personalized Slayer, where the camera detaches itself away from the Slayer, so you can kind of just view his entire figure and just see the skins. I think that's absolutely one of the coolest attributes Doom Eternal brings compared to 2016.
Totally.
Yeah. I might be putting you on the spot with this question, but where does the Slayer store all of his weapons?
In his man cave. Yeah, that's where they go. I like when he walks around.
Yeah, when you see him in the cutscenes, he's got like he might be holding one weapon, but then somewhere he has like 7 weapons, a BFG, an Unmaker, and like the Crucible.
That's just a video gameism that we are going to own fully. Is that, yes, he puts them in the video game library and he pulls them out when he needs them. Those are the kids. They just re-entered the picture, so we could use that. Maybe we go to the last question here, because I can only hold them off for so. They're like the demons of Doom Eternal, and but only it's like they are the demons, but I am not the Doomslayer, and I cannot stop them. So they will be busting in here shortly.
Okay. Well, I just have one more question for you. I think this is the most important one.
Okay.
In terms of what's coming up soon that we'll be expecting. Master levels, they bring a unique spin in Doom Eternal. I know that the previous two that we had before Super Gore Nest, we had Cult of Space, we had Arc Complex, and those two, mostly what it was just changing the demons. You, instead of like going against like a couple fodders, you're introduced to super heavy demons in a very challenging light. And Super Gore Nest then changes everything around for master levels to the point where it provides a unique, distinct sort of level design where it doesn't only just change the demons, it changes parts of the environment. Like, for example, Super Gore Nest, there's places that are filled with smoke, there's places that are flooded, and even like the escape part after you start destroying the heart and you self-detonate the facility, there's parts where instead of traversing around climbable walls, it's underwater and you gotta like swim quickly just to get out of there. So I was just wondering if could we be possibly seeing something like that for master levels in the future where it just changes environments a little bit.
Well, yeah, we'll try. I mean, I think the designers on those master levels do a tremendous job, and it's really an opportunity to experiment. And I think that what we saw with the first couple of master levels, which are amazing, is that you saw with Super Gore Nest, we created like the classic mode, and picking up your weapons, and then different challenges based on around the master level that you'd unlock skins, and then eventually so we tried to make that master level a bit more of a complete experience, because honestly, if we're going to take the time to make a master level, we don't want it to be just a one and done thing. We wanted it to be a bit more of a full experience. So moving forward, that is the template that we would like to use. And yes, I mean, whether it's Jason or someone else, or Adam or whoever else, Patrick, whoever's working on a master level, we really want to make sure that we're providing you guys with like a full and complete experience. Otherwise, again, you just kind of pass through it. And I'm not dismissive of any of the other master levels. It's just like we've done some, so like we'd like to try to increase engagement around the master level. So we will do our best. That's what I can say.
Oh, that's definitely exciting. Now, I know that was the last question, but I got like a 3-worded question that just only requires like one short answer. If that's okay.
Do it.
Sticky bomb or full auto?
It's hard to say. I would say prior to this, sticky bomb. But in my stream, I started using more full auto, and Tag 2 has me using more full auto, which is making me use full auto more, and it's just fresh. And that's what I like about it right now, is it's a fresh experience. Should we upgrade full auto? Should we maybe mess with it a little bit? We'll see on this week's stream. Tune in. Me and Josh are going to find out from the community what it is they think we should do.
That is awesome.
If anything, maybe we do nothing. I don't know. We'll see.
Oh, definitely exciting details. But yeah, that's actually pretty much everything I had for the questions. You really provide a lot of information in these questions, and I can't thank you enough for that. So I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for actually taking the time out of your day for doing this interview with me.
Thank you so much for everything that you've done for the Doom community. From all of us at Idsoftware, thank you, sir, very, very much. And we look forward to any of the content you put out. Everybody should be checking out Buckio's channel. It's awesome. And thank you for being a coach on Spicy Demons. And keep coaching him up. And look out for some of the new content coming up. And yeah, let's just thank you. Like that's all I have to say. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome, and thank you for the opportunity and being very passionate with the community. And thanks to Josh, who's kind of quiet in the corner over there, for actually setting this up and giving me the opportunity for this.
That's right.
Sometimes being quiet is just professional.
All right. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Later, guys.
All right, have yourself a good night, guys. Take care.
Bye.